what is something you would have told your younger self? And this guy, this like old dude he said, my dad always told me everybody puts on their pants the same way in the morning. He said, basically, he's like, no matter what, he's like, it's true. You can ask everybody. Everybody has the same problems right when they wake up in the morning. And I don't know, I was just like, that's a funny way to put it, but it's like true. It's like, we all got to do it.
Everybody
somehow.
has a problem. And, the best of us learn and are inspired by these laws, while many of us succumb to them. And so which are you? That's the one I put down.
Big facts.
So that was a big thing for me, because victim mindset is something that really bothers me.
Yeah.
Right. So one thing I noticed too, like after reading this, I was like, I gotta go for a run. So I put my backpack on and put weight in the bag. I was like, I'm going for a fucking run. You know what I mean? I'm gonna run with some weight. And so I invited my mom and dad. They said no, there was no way. I was convincing them. And I told my sister, hey, let's go for a run.
She ran running with you?
She went running with me.
That's good.
And we're running and we get to the front of the school and I turn around like everything was just cool 5 seconds ago, bro. I turn around, she limping. I'm like, oh, that's the excuse you're gonna use? That's the excuse you're gonna use? I'm like, dude, sometimes in life you're gonna roll your ankle. You just better keep it moving. You know what I mean? And I made her ask
You
me,
have to
keep running
search for a new set of rules.
Bread is of little use to the man who has betrayed his soul.
Maybe you're the protagonist in your story, but like there's a million other people.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back. It's Monday. You already know what it is. Paradyme podcast. It's chapter 7 of our book that we're reading, Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. This chapter of this title is titled The Most Powerful Weapon. After watching the video, be sure to leave us a like on our video, comment, subscribe, follow us on our social media, check in with us for any questions or concerns. And yeah, let's hop into it.
Hell yeah. So what a chapter, bro.
Too.
What a chapter. I really, really enjoyed it.
I think this is my favorite chapter.
Yeah.
Hands down.
Dude, it was insane. It was insane.
He was dropping nugget after nugget.
Yeah. That's for sure.
This is probably the chapter I highlighted the most.
Same for me. Remember, I think, was it last chapter where I read like the wrong one or whatever?
Oh yeah.
That whole week I was in like a zone because I was reading this chapter and it made me rethink a bunch of shit.
Yeah.
For real.
Oh yeah. Definitely. So what was your guys' favorite part and why?
I would say my biggest takeaway, because I like to summarize the chapter, especially when I go back and read my highlights. I got to see where I highlighted in the chapter, but there's a towards the beginning a little bit. I'd say it's close to the beginning. He states, David Goggins states, "We settle as individuals, and we teach our children to settle for less than their best, and all that ripples out, merges and multiplies within our communities and society as a whole." So obviously, you guys aren't going to understand, like the audience isn't going to understand unless you read chapter 7 of David Goggins, Can't Hurt Me, but him breaking down as how capable we are, the 40 rule, the 40% rule. I think that is like a limitation that I don't comprehend still. Like, I think I'm at, like when I'm pushing myself, I feel like I'm at 100.
Right.
Like, I feel like I'm there, and if I can't push myself anymore, I don't know if it's my body telling my mind I can't do it anymore, or if it's my mind telling, or if it's the other way, whatever I said first. So listening to that, I think that is true. It ripples through not only your family, your friends, but the way you talk to yourself ripples through communities. We're connected in all different aspects and forms. But I think that statement alone really defined the chapter for me. And I really like how he put it. Like, it's like we're connected all as one. And when you say something and someone hears that, if it's your child, then they take on your personality. They take on your way of thinking. They take on your capability or how much they're willing to push themselves. Yeah. So that was an excellent point.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was intense. Even reading up that whole point, like the whole Las Vegas Marathon up to that point, it was like, wow, you know? So how about you, John? What was your favorite part and why?
I guess the part that stuck out to me the most is when post his first 100-mile run, and then post like him doing that 10K with his family or whatever, and he ended up trying. He knows he's gonna do the Hurt 100, and he mentioned, and the people around him who see he can't even run really, they're like, "You're retarded, dude. Like, you shouldn't do this." And then he mentions, he's like, the quickest way to kill a dream is to tell the people around you.
Yeah.
Because he's like whether they think it's like for your own good or whatever, they tell you can't do it. Like, you should play it safe.
Yeah.
And it's true, you know, whether like people mean to or not, like people squash their dreams, you know.
Mhm.
But he had like enough inner confidence, inner motivation, and inner drive to be like, I think I'm gonna give this my shot, you know.
Yeah.
And I really don't care what anyone else thinks.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna give it more than anyone else has ever given it around me. And like, that's how I'm gonna prove it to myself. Fuck everyone else, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, hell yeah, you know, like anyone can relate to that, you know.
Mhm.
So
Oh yeah.
It's the shittiest part about that is like it's usually the closest people to you.
Oh,
You know what
yeah.
I mean? That tell
Right.
you that like you can't achieve something great or something that they haven't achieved yet. So it's like,
but then to branch off of what you guys said earlier, how everything affects people and like the community around you, you know, like when you do have the inner drive, when you are showing people that you can do better than mediocre, and so if you can, so can they, right? Because people always compare each other to each other.
Right.
I think that has a ripple effect in the community too, you know.
Yeah.
I just see it like right now at school and with the kids and stuff, you know, like I hype them up, give them a lot of positivity, and then they're able to do stuff, you know. And then they're like,
Yeah.
maybe I can do more. Maybe I can, you know, maybe I am leaving shit on the table.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Yeah, it's interesting too because you know, when I look around, even in my city, it's kind of like a crabs in a bucket type of mentality, where it's like if somebody tries to get out, they grab that crab and pull them back in, right? And that kind of makes me think of when it came to the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and it had that graph of driving forces versus restraining forces, and he mentioned it right here, John's favorite part, which was you try to make a change or you try to pursue something greater than mediocre, and even the closest people to you, your family, your friends, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, whatever it might be, tries to pull you back down in that barrel, because when you try to be better, this is just in some cases, but when you try to be better, it makes them feel like shit, right? Like if you're trying to be better, then what am I, right?
Yep.
And so that crab in a bucket mentality, when you're faced with that, understand that, you know, everybody's identity revolves around being comfortable. And when you are trying to get outside of being comfortable, because growth isn't comfortable, it's painful. It's a painful experience.
Oh yeah.
When you try to get out of that, people are going to try to pull you down, and know that that is a marker showing that you're going in the right direction. And so I thought that was one of the biggest things in the chapter.
And honestly, the sum of this whole book, what I'm getting out of it is just like, the more often you are uncomfortable, the easier it is to do uncomfortable things all the time.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yeah, true.
Hell yeah.
Callous that mind, baby.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
How about you, David? What was your favorite part and why?
My favorite part was the part where he talks about Goggins' laws of nature. I thought it was really, it's like very simple, but I love it. He says, when we know life can be hard, and yet we feel sorry for ourselves when it isn't fair. From this point forward, accept the following as Goggins' laws of nature. You will be made fun of. You will feel insecure. You may not be the best all the time. You may be the only black, white, Asian, Latino, female, male, gay, lesbian, or fill in your identity in a given situation. There will be times when you feel alone, and then he says, get over it. And I think I hear a lot, you know, people say like, get over something, but hearing it from him and the way he puts it right here makes it just hit a little bit harder. And I posted this this list on IG, and one of my friends was like, it's not that easy. And then, like, you know, and I was like, exactly, it's not easy. It's going to be hard. It's going to be uncomfortable, kind of like we were just talking about. I don't know, man, it's crazy how strong our minds are. And I think I love the idea of using that phrase, like, our mind is the most powerful weapon. So dope.
Yeah.
It's very inspiring.
I think everything in our lives is hard. I think we just choose what we lean into to formulate something to become easy. So if you formulate something to become easy real fast, and then you kind of get comfortable and you get stuck in that way of taking the easy road, then it's harder to find that harder road. Like referring to your friend, I'm not saying everything is easy, but I think everything is hard. Everything is.
Oh yeah.
It should put us in that comfortable situation.
I would disagree, dude. What's harder, making dinner or going to McDonald's?
Making dinner.
What's easier, walking to work or driving to work?
Yeah.
What, you know, I don't know. Like, there's tons of things that are easy. That's why people aren't great. Like, that's why people are fat. You know, like, it's like less friction.
Yeah, it's easier to go down the hill than up it.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's easier to be like, all right, what do you want to do tonight? Go hit the gym or do some drugs?
Yeah.
You know, it's easier to be like, I want to do some drugs.
Yeah.
You
But
know?
we
Or
choose that.
even girls, try to go go out and act with girls. What's easier? Never trying or staying in your apartment, or like trying to go send it.
Yeah.
Like one's definitely uncomfortable, and it's the one trying to talk to the girls.
Right. Yeah, I would say that too. Like, I think, I forget who breaks it down, but he's like, when it's so much easier to go down the hill, just roll down the hill, than it is to get back up and hike back up it. You know, I think there's a lot of things that are easy in life, but when you're doing those, are you building something, or are you just kind of destroying something? Jocko Willink kind of put that into perspective for me.
Chocolate Williams,
he's an
another crazy
animal,
dude.
too.
That's another crazy guy.
Right. And I was actually listening to one of his videos today, and it was like, every single second you're doing something, you're either, you know, they say Rome wasn't built in a day, but it also wasn't destroyed in a day, right? Either you maximize every second by building something, or you lose every second because it's being destroyed, right? So maximize every second to your best ability, and understand that you're building something or you're destroying something, right? With the little split decisions you make every single day. So I'm going to kind of go off of what you said. My favorite part was David's, his rules for life, his laws, I would say.
Yeah, I added those to my affirmations on my whiteboard.
Oh, yeah. And the reason why I put is like, these are things every single person ever has gone through, right? You can hear somebody say, I'm the only white person in my classroom. I'm the only Latino person in my classroom. I'm the only black person in my classroom. Well, I mean, I was the only person that had my own little demographic in school. You know what I mean? There's somebody who's gay they're the only gay person at work. That's not a good enough excuse to not be great and pursue greatness, right? And if you are using that as an excuse, I mean, it might hurt, but like, get the fuck over it, bro. Like, straight up, like.
Yeah, I saw a TikTok today and thought it was a funny story. They asked a bunch of people, what is something you would have told your younger self? And this guy, this like old dude, he said, my dad always told me everybody puts on their pants the same way in the morning. He said, basically, he's like, no matter what, he's like, it's true, you can ask everybody. Everybody has the same problems right when they wake up in the morning. And I don't know, I was just like, that's a funny way to put it, but it's like true. It's like, we all got to do it.
Everybody
somehow
has a problem, and the best of us learn and are inspired by these laws, while many of us succumb to them. And so, which are you? That's the one I put down.
Big fact.
So that was a big thing for me, because victim mindset is something that really bothers me. Yeah. Right. So one thing I noticed too, like, after reading this, I was like, I gotta go for a run. So I put my backpack on and put weight in the bag. I was like, I'm going for a fucking run. You know what I mean? I'm going to run with some weight. And so I invited my mom and dad. They said no, there was no way I was convincing them. And I told my sister, hey, let's go for a run.
She went running with you?
She went running with me. That's good. And we're running, and we get to the front of the school, and I turn around, like, everything was just cool 5 seconds ago, bro. I turn around, she limping. I'm like, oh, that's the excuse you're gonna use? That's the excuse you're gonna use? I'm like, dude, sometimes in life you're gonna roll your ankle. You just better keep it moving. You know what I mean? And I made her ass keep running all the way back to the house.
Damn.
But she just was trying to formulate something in her head to get out of a run. I saw it. I was like, I'm not gonna accept that shit. You better fucking run, or you're out.
You're gonna have to walk back. You might as well get home faster if you're running.
Like, I ain't running to the car to go pick you up.
So yeah, it was it's interesting. It's such an inspiring book that, like, I couldn't imagine myself. I was telling my sister, I was like, 4 years ago, if you would have told me I was out here running running 3 miles with 15, 20 pounds on my back, I would have laughed at you. Yeah. You know what I mean? But the growth that we've done and this book, how inspirational and motivational it is, it really it's interesting to see where we've grown to.
True.
Yeah, where we come.
Hell yeah.
You guys want to hop into the summary?
Hell yeah.
Yes, sir.
All right. So this summary is going to be a little longer this week. It was a little longer chapter, so stick in there with me. So this chapter begins 37 hours after the San Diego one-day race. Goggins is back at work, still in pain. He had been looking forward to calling Chris Kosman, the creator of the Badwater race. Maybe there would be some overdue respect and surprise in the tone of his voice. The call went to voicemail, so Goggins sent him an email sharing that he had completed the 100 miles needed to qualify for Badwater in 18 hours and 56 minutes. Moreover, he asked what else he needed to do to get into the race. The next day, Kosman responded, "Congrats on your 100-mile finish. The point of a 24-hour event is to run for 24 hours. Anyways, stay tuned for the announcement that you can apply. The race will be July 24th to 26th. Goggins obviously took that response personally. but he took a week to cool down before riding him back. During that time, Goggins began researching other races to bolster his resume. Kosman was one of 5 people on the Badwater Admissions Committee. They review and score applications of nearly 1,000 people a year, and based on their cumulative scores, the top 90 are admitted and permitted to participate. To ensure his admission, Goggins would attempt another ultra race titled the Hurt 100. One of the toughest 100-mile races in the world through the rainforests of Oahu. To cross the finish line, Goggins would need to traverse up and down 24,500 vertical feet. So the date was placed in his calendar, but he had one more race he had to do before that, the Las Vegas Marathon. Kate, David's mom, and David himself planned to participate in the marathon months before the idea of San Diego one day ever crossed David's mind. Goggins was still beat up from San Diego one day, so he planned to walk it with his mom for as long as he could and then call a taxi to be at the finish line to await their arrival. So the 3 of them towed up to the line as the clock struck 7 a.m. and someone got to the mic to begin the official countdown. 10, 9, 8, and when they hit 1, the horn sounded and something in Goggins clicked. He states, "The last thing I remember seeing as the horn echoed down the street was shock and real concern on the faces of Kate and my mother as I charged down the boulevard and out of sight. The residual pain from the San Diego one day was still very real until adrenaline kicked in approximately a quarter mile in. Goggins arrived at the halfway point, 13 miles, and saw the official clock, 1 hour, 35 minutes, and 55 seconds. With that time, he was in the hunt to qualify for the Boston Marathon. In order to do that, he'd have to finish the race in under 3 hours, 10 minutes, and 59 seconds. It wasn't going to be easy. Goggins had ridden an adrenaline rush for the first 13 miles, but felt every bit of pain running the last 13. And at mile 18, Goggins hit a wall. He shares, "My legs felt like I was running in deep Saharan sand. I needed to stop and take a break, but I refused, and 2 hard miles later, I felt rejuvenated. I reached the next clock at mile 22. I was still in the hunt for Boston, though I'd fallen 30 seconds off of my pace. And to qualify, the next 4 miles would have to be my very best. Goggins dug deep and ran his last 2 miles at a sub-7 pace and finished the race at a little over 3 hours, 8 minutes, qualifying for Boston. As he sat awaiting his wife and mother, he contemplated a question he couldn't shake. What am I capable of? First Buds, then San Diego one day, now the Las Vegas Marathon, at an elite pace when he had no business even walking a mile? What am I capable of? Rang true." Goggins continues, "I couldn't answer that question, but as I looked around the finish line that day and considered what I'd accomplished, it became clear. We are all leaving a lot more on the table without realizing it. We are habitually settling for less than our best at work, in school, in our relationships, and on the playing field or race course. We settle as individuals, and we teach our children to settle for less than their best. And all of that ripples out, merges, and multiplies within our communities and society as a whole. In that moment, the cost of missing out on so much excellence in this eternally fucked up world felt incalculable to me, and it still does. I haven't stopped thinking about it since." Within a few days, Goggins had bounced back to his new normal, dealing with the same serious yet tolerable pain of the San Diego one day. All the aches were still there, but Goggins needed to start training or he'd burn out on the Hurt 100, and there would be no bad water. Research led him to understanding that in order to run ultras, running 100 miles a week was necessary, and he had a month to train and prepare before race day. January 14th, Goggins began running the 16-mile distance to work at least 3 times a week. Sometimes he'd run home to and from on Saturdays. Sometimes he'd run home, and on Fridays he added a ruck run into the mix. These ruck runs had a rucksack with 2 25-pound weights inside and a distance of up to 20 miles to cover. The first week of training, Goggins ran 77 miles. The following week, 109 miles. The next week, 111.5 miles. He followed his big week with a taper before his race with a 56.5-mile week. He and his wife, Kate, then flew to Honolulu a few days early and stayed at Haleakala. Goggins had studied the maps, but hadn't seen them in person, so he drove over to the Hawaiian Nature Center and stared into the forest-covered mountains. The Hurt 100 was a 20-mile course, of which only a slim slice of those who start the race finish all 5 laps. The day of the race, he started strong and felt great, but not long into it, he knew he was facing a monster course. It wasn't for the elevation or distance either. It was because of all the rocks and roots and his camelback breaking that brought it into the foreground. After completing his second lap, his wife Kate was waiting for him after enjoying a relaxing day at Waikiki Beach. She watched as he materialized from the forest like a zombie from The Walking Dead. He sat and guzzled as much water as he could and learned that word had gotten around that this was his first trail race. Once he started again, he ran with a guy named Luis Escobar, who asked him some questions. So it's your first trail race. You really picked the wrong. I know. I'm a fucking idiot. I've heard that a lot today, replied Goggins. That's okay. We're all a bunch of idiots out here, man, said Escobar as he handed Goggins a bottle of water. Take this. I heard about your camelback. Ultras are a constant dance between competition and camaraderie. Everyone is racing the clock and each other, but they all want each other to make it. They were in it alone, together, and Escobar was right. They were a couple of fucking idiots. Goggins continued his race through the grueling conditions of the Hurt 100. Goggins then introduces some interesting ideas. So on page 209, he says, I'm sure you can tell that it doesn't take much for me to become obsessed. Some criticize my level of passion, but I'm not down with the prevailing mentalities that tend to dominate American society these days. The ones that tell us to go with the flow or invite us to learn how to get more with less effort, fuck that shortcut bullshit. The reason I embrace my own obsessions and demand and desire more for myself is because I've learned that it's only when I push myself beyond pain and suffering, past my perceived limitations, that I am capable of accomplishing more, physically and mentally. The human body is like a stock car. We may look different on the outside, but under the hood, we all have huge reservoirs of potential and a governor impeding us from reaching our maximum velocity. In a car, the governor limits the flow of fuel and air so it doesn't burn too hot, which places a ceiling on performance. Our governor is buried deep in our minds, intertwined with our very identity. It knows what and who we love and hate. It's read our whole life story and forms the way we see ourselves and how we'd like to be seen. But here's the thing, it doesn't have absolute control. Unlike the governor in an engine, ours can only stop us when we buy into the bullshit and agree to quit. Sadly, most of us give up when we've only given around 40% of our maximum effort. Even when we feel like we've reached our absolute limit, we still have 60% more to give. That's the governor in action. Once you know that to be true, it's simply a matter of stretching your pain tolerance, letting go of your identity and all your self-limiting stories so you can get to 60%, then 80% and beyond without giving up. I call this the 40% rule. And it's the reason it's so powerful is that if you follow it, you will unlock your mind to new levels of performance and excellence in sports and in life. The 40% rule can be applied to everything we do because in life, almost nothing will turn out exactly as we hope. There are always challenges, and whether we are at work, school, or feeling tested within our most intimate and important relationships, we will all be tempted to walk away from commitments, give up on our goals and dreams, and sell our own happiness short at some point because we feel empty, like we have no more to give, when we haven't tapped us even half of our treasure buried deep in our minds. I know how it feels to be approaching an energetic dead end. I've been there too many times to count. I understand the temptation to sell short, but I also know that impulse is driven by mind's desire for comfort and is not telling you the truth. It's your identity trying to find sanctuary and help you not to grow. Which brings us to Goggins' laws of nature. This is on page 219. David read it a little bit earlier, but I'll recite it here. Goggins' laws of nature. You will be made fun of. You will feel insecure. You may not be the best all the time. You may be the only black, white, Asian, Latino, female, male, gay, lesbian, or fill in your identity here in any given situation. There will be times when you feel alone. Get over it. Our minds are fucking strong. They are our most powerful weapon, but we have stopped using them. We have access to so many more resources today than ever before, and yet we are so much less capable than those who came before us. If you want to be one of the few to defy those trends in our ever-softening society, you will have to be willing to go to war with yourself and create a whole new identity, which requires an open mind. It's funny. Being open-minded is often tagged as a new age or soft idea. Fuck that. Being open-minded enough to find a way is old school. It's what knuckle draggers do, and it's exactly what I did. By the time Goggins towed up to the line for Badwater at 6 a.m. on July 22nd, 2006, he moved his governor to 80%. Goggins states, "You know what that guaranteed me? Jack fucking shit." Goggins started out at 6 a.m. and paced with Akos Konya, the first 17 miles, which David recalls as a bad call. At mile 26, Akos put some distance between Goggins and himself, and David started to realize that he went out way too fast. He reached the mile 42 at 1:31 p.m., a full hour after Akos. Goggins was on the course for 7.5 hours and was almost exclusively walking by then. He hiked the entire 18-mile climb to Town Pass, and as predicted, the sun was setting as he crested the 4,850 foot. He stuck to his script and ran the entire 9-mile descent. The sun began to rise, and a swarm of runners began to materialize at mile 110. But he didn't see any of them until mile 122 when his wife pulled up alongside Goggins and shared the news. "Scott Jurek is 2 miles behind you." With Jurek on the hunt, Goggins was inspired to give everything he had as he turned onto Whitney Portal Road and started the final 13-mile climb. Finally, at mile 128, on the steepest part of the steepest road, Jurek was on his heels. Goggins got out of the way and cheered him on. Inspired by Jurek, Goggins ran most of the final 7 miles, and after 30 hours, 18 minutes, and 54 seconds of running, hiking, sweating, and suffering, Goggins snapped the tape at the finish line. 90 runners completed that race in 2006, and Goggins finished in 5th. Honoring SBG's email to Kosman so long ago, ensuring David would finish in the top 10%. During his finishing interview, a cool breeze resulted in treason whispered in his ear. I closed my eyes, and I saw Jurek Olsen, Akos, and Carl Metzler. All of them had something I didn't. They understood how to drain every last drop and put themselves into a position to win the world's most difficult races, and it was time to seek out that feeling for myself. I'd prepare like a man. I knew myself and the terrain. I stayed ahead of my quitting mind, answered the simple questions, and stayed in the race, but there was one more thing to be done. There was still something higher for me to rise to. A cool breeze rustled the trees, dried the sweat from my skin, and soothed my aching bones. It whispered in my ear and shared a secret, which echoed in my brain like a drumbeat that wouldn't stop. There is no finish line, Goggins. There is no finish line. This brings us to challenge number 7.
Phenomenal summary. Gotta give it to you. That was fantastic.
Fantastic.
All right, challenge 7. Let's get into it. The main objective here is to slowly start to remove that governor from your brain. First, a quick reminder of how this process works. In 1999, when I weighed 297 pounds, my first run was at a quarter mile. Fast forward to 2007, I ran 205 miles in 39 hours, nonstop. I didn't get there overnight, and I don't expect you to either. Your job is to push past your normal stopping point. Whether you are running on a treadmill or doing a set of push-ups, get to a point where you are so tired and in pain that your mind is begging you to stop. Then push to 5 to 10% further. If the most push-ups you have ever done is 100 in a workout, do 105 or 110. If you normally run 30 miles each week, run 10% more next week. This gradually ramp up will help prevent injury and allow your body and mind to slowly adapt to your new workload. It also resets your baseline, which is important because you're about to increase your workload another 5 to 10% to the following week, the week after that. There is so much pain and suffering involved in physical challenges that it's the best training to take command of your own inner dialogue and the newfound mental strength and confidence you gain by continuing to push yourself physically will carry over to the other aspects in your life. You will realize that if you were underperforming in your physical challenges, there's a good chance you are underperforming at school and work too. The bottom line is that life is one big mind game. The only person you're playing against is yourself. Stick with this process, and soon what you thought was impossible will be something you do every day of your life. Boom!
All right. So what we decided to do is talk about one past experience that pushed our mental governor and one future goal we have that will push our mental governor as well. So I'll go first. In the past, so my past experience, I had a couple that I laid down, but This past weekend, I'll just go off of this past weekend. A peer from grad school and I named Nick DeSisto, and I hiked 13.95 miles with 3,200 feet of elevation gain, resulting in a peak, Kaiser Peak, at 10,300 feet. Hikes above 9,000 feet really test my physical ability and test your governor, definitely. So once I hit 9,000 feet, that breathing starts getting real hard because, like, I don't know, the oxygen's just significantly lower. And so once that 9,000 foot hits, I'm like, while I'm hiking, and I just go right down to the first gear and just real slow but continuous. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Well, hey, John, can you mute your mic?
What is that? You hear that?
Yeah. I think somebody's moving something upstairs. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I learned to push myself in these moments. There's a couple times I can think of, you know, with a friend of mine named Jill. She's doing her undergraduate thesis at this place called Woodchuck. I won't explain where that is too much because there's some good fishing out there. But that hike ended up at like just under 10,800 feet. And once I hit that 9,000 foot mark, it was just like, you know what I mean? Like breathing was hard. So me and Nick are going to be planning on doing more of those hikes. Like we're going to try and get them in like every weekend, every other weekend, just to kind of keep pushing that mental governor. So that was the past one this weekend. So in the future, summer 2022, I will summit Mount Whitney, the tallest peak in the United States, the continental United States. I'll be on that thing. And so that's going to be one where I push myself. That's a 20-mile hike with over 6,000 feet of gain. And it's an extremely hard hike that you have to get permits for. It's not just something that you could just up and do.
Can't just go on the weekend, just real quick, hike on.
You just apply for the permit. It's like $3 or whatever, but it's a massive hike. You end up at the highest peak in the United States at 14,500 feet, 505 feet. And so that's going to be my goal. So training for that to get there next summer.
Question: do you have to train for elevation sickness, or no? Does that you haven't got that?
No, because when I feel like, because what it is like I get a blood pumping and you can like hear it. It's just like fatigue faster. I would take periodic breaks. You know,
David, it's all about. I think it's called like your VO2. Your Apple Watch tracks it. It's about like how much oxygen your blood carries,
right.
And the more cardio in shape you are, the better that is. Like you can improve it. Like for example, like just recently, I've even improved mine. You can track it, and
nice.
As long as you have that, that's it.
Right.
Okay.
And that's why it happens up there is because the oxygen levels, the percentage is so much lower than where we're at.
You can't get enough oxygen. Like you're having trouble getting more oxygen to yourself.
Oh, right.
Okay.
So that's why you want to take those periodic breaks, you know, if need be. If not, if you're in shape and you can just fucking troop it and fucking do it, you know. But yeah, it gets cold up there. The air gets thin, but that's a goal of mine. Next year, I'm going to do that. So,
yeah. So mine aren't as crazy. You know what I mean? I feel like you have really big goals for that one. For the future one, my past experience, I tried to do something super recent. When I was working out at home, I really pushed myself when I was working out. Like I did like a crazy amount of pull-ups and push-ups. But I think my greatest achievement was I planked for almost 3 minutes. Like didn't move, didn't get off a plank. I don't know if that's like, to me, that was a like record. So I was like, that shit was hard. I couldn't like, just for when I hit that 1 minute, 30 second mark, the governor was like, all right, you're good. Like, get up. All right, now your body's telling you to stop. Like, get off. All right, stop. Like, your core hurts so fucking bad. But I felt like that was a real achievement of mine recently. For my future, I want to say running the mini marathon, but I think that's all of ours, right? Like, I don't want to. I would say for my trading career, though, I would say learning and understanding fundamentals. That's one thing that I do not understand. Like how John just broke down the company that he's looking into. That's sort of like fundamentals. It's like research around what's going on in reality, rather than like looking at the charts and like telling one thing.
I see.
So that's one thing that I'm like a newbie at. I don't know anything about how to read news and what affects what or what correlates. So I think that's going to be like a real challenge for me because it's going to test me like how the charts tested me when I first started. And I think I'm afraid to get into it because it's like, what if I have to keep making mistakes and relearning and having to go back and like, so, but I think I need to just tackle it head on and just start, you know what I mean? So that's one future mental desired point. I wish I want to like overcome that. I want to like get that governor. Like just do it. Just start now.
Hell yeah.
Dope, dude.
How about you,
For
David?
me, my past experience pushing myself past that point was, I want to say recently. I know I've ran it before. I've ran 4 miles without. Actually, no. Yeah, when me and Jay ran the other day, Sunday. Was it Sunday? It was like
Last
Sundays.
Saturday.
Yeah. Ran 4 miles without stopping, and I kept my pace, which was a little bit. Probably, I didn't think I should have been. There was a point where I was like, "Damn, I think I'm gonna have to stop because I think I was going too fast." Like Jay was going a little bit slower, but he kept like a really good pace going, and I was like, just like, "Fuck, man, I need to get this shit done." So there is a point towards the end where I was like, "Man, maybe I should stop," because it was really hot that day too. But we did it, and I think the governor towards the end was like, "Bro, you usually run 2 miles and then you take like a little break at the bridge, like for maybe like a couple minutes, and then you go run." He's like, and then the governor was like, "You haven't just ran for 4 miles straight, so maybe you should chill." But and then it was hot, so I just I forced myself to get it done, and then so we both did that. And for future experiences, definitely the run that we're gonna put on. I think that would be cool because I've never ran more than 4 miles before. But I think once I do that, I'm going to apply that mentality to when I run further distances because I know I want to. I want to at least try for a mini marathon. I think I could do it. Because if I could do this and just keep that like mind game going and really pace myself, I think I could do it.
Is the mini marathon is 13 miles.
13.1, yeah.
And okay.
Yeah. So it'd be double what we're gonna do, but I think we could do it.
Oh yeah, dude, we could do it. If we keep training and then we make it a point and say we're gonna do it, we can fucking do it, bro.
I know we can do it. It's just we gotta condition ourselves and get ready.
Nah, do it, bro.
Let's fucking do it,
Nah.
man.
Maybe that would be good practice for us for that hike. You know what I'm saying?
Bro, you see
Oh,
David
yeah.
Goggins? You think David
All
Goggins
right, fuck it.
practice?
Let's go.
100
Right now.
miles.
Let's go. Let's run. No, podcast over. Fuck this shit.
Yeah.
You think
How about you, John?
you practice?
Mine's kind of like along the same lines as David. Like a previous limitations, running too. When I was able to run like 7 miles at a fast pace, at least I thought for myself, I felt like an athlete or something. And talking about how you said how Rome wasn't built in a day, but also wasn't destroyed in a day. I hadn't realized since I got an ace, my cardio had fallen off more than usual, just because of like I was doing different things. But I told you guys last week my goal was to run 3 miles every day.
Mm-hmm.
Like not only did that, I was doing like 4 or 5 miles a day.
There you
know,
go.
and like now, like I just run a mile like when I wake up, and like today I was out on time, so I was like, "Come on, Ace, we're gonna do a quick mile." And a quick mile, like it was like I forgot I was running. I was like so deep in thought. I was like, hell yeah. I was like, this mile shit easy. This 2 mile shit easy now, dude.
There you go.
I was like, you start getting like on Saturday, before I went out, me and Ace ran 6 miles. Like I ran our typical 2, and then I was like, fuck it, dude, let's go to the dog park. So I just started running towards the dog park,
Mm-hmm.
Ace ran
so,
the whole time?
Huh?
Ace,
Yeah.
Damn.
Ace an animal, bro. He's running out here.
Literally.
We're doing like 8-minute miles together now.
Wow.
So I forget. I got really high the other day, and I was like looking at Ace, and I was like, bro, like you're an athlete. I was like, you're doing this shit with me. Like, how dope is that?
Right.
Hell
yeah.
So
Dude, I'm just waiting for Ace to like pop up on the side of the screen and be like, "What's up, guys? I miss y'all."
Fucking A.
So
All right.
my what I'm shooting for now is I want to reach like a new goal. I'm getting back to being close to like what used to be my best. I'm having a slower pace than I've had, but I'm going to say it's because it's Ace, but just because I'm not as good as I was.
Mhm.
But I want to do 10 miles. That's my goal. My next goal. If I can do 10 miles, that would be dope. I could say I broke double digits,
Mhm.
Yeah, definitely.
Hell yeah, dude.
I've never broke double digits, so.
But of course, that's hard.
Shit's hard.
I was talking about
fuck.
earlier, like how everything's hard. Nah, bro, running 10 miles is hard. Like,
Yeah.
watch TV,
Huh.
you know.
for sure.
People think running a mile is hard, bro.
That was
See?
me. That was me 2 weeks ago.
And that shit helps me. Shit, that was me 2 weeks ago. You know, like how fast you can be like, hey, this mile shit easy, dude.
Right.
Like how fast that happened.
Hell yeah. I just did the math over here. So going based off of what the 40% rule is, Devin, a 3-minute plank at 40%, that's 3 minutes, right? 100% is 9.5 minutes.
Jeez.
You could have done 9.5 minutes.
Damn.
David,
Like 10 minutes.
running 4 miles, that's 40%. 100% is 10 miles.
I can do that.
John
That
running
pace though? Woo!
yeah.
During the summer? But
John running 7 miles, 100% is 17.5 miles.
Sheesh.
You could have done that. For myself, hiking 10 miles would have been at 100%, 25 miles and 8,700 feet worth of gain.
mother.
So you guys still got a lot in the tank. You guys been holding out on me? Huh? Just kidding.
But, bro.
I think you guys got it, man. I think that if we're going by the 40% rule, 100% would have been these numbers.
All right, 9 minutes my goal now. So every time I do a plank, I'm reaching.
I'm just fucking.
I'm fucking.
I ain't even gonna be able to do the summit hike, bro. I'm gonna die.
Goggins walked sometimes in his ultras too, so take a little break if you need it.
I'll get on my knees. And I'll pick back up.
Hell yeah. All right. So before we wrap it up, I wanted to ask one question because it just came to mind. And I think it'd be an interesting point for people to see. He talks about his laws of nature and how you will feel insecure, you will be made fun of, you will not be the best of all time. You may be the only black, white, Asian, Latino, female, male, gay, lesbian, fill in the blank identity here in a given situation. I want to know where you felt like this in your life and how you attacked that problem. So starting with myself, I'll go, my parents are mixed, I'm mixed. And around here, it's primarily of Latino culture. We have other cultures here as well too. But going to school here or going to school in Washington, it was always a thing of like, oh, what race are you? You know what I mean? And I'd be like, I'm all of these things,
Everything.
And so and I've always kind of felt this. It was for the white crowd, I was too Mexican, and for the Mexican crowd, I was too white, right? Mm-hmm. And I had come to accept that in middle school and even in the high school a little bit. And it took kind of building what my identity was outside of race to understand that that is such a small frame, a reference frame of thought. So now when I hear people say like, oh, it's because of this, like, oh, it's because I'm Mexican, oh, it's because I'm white, it's hard for me to identify with that idea. When it would be like, there's so many different things that could have happened in terms of bad decisions that led up to this moment, not just because you were Mexican, just because you were black. What decisions did I make personally that brought me to this point, right? So I think it was like right as high school was ending, I kind of came to the realization that my identity was bigger than race, right?
Bars.
And so for the people that are out there that think like this is what you have to do because you're this race, whatever it might be, black, white, Asian, Latino, or sexual orientation, gay, straight, whatever it is, you're bigger than that. You're more than that. Your identity isn't just that. There's parts of a foundation in your identity, and that's one of 100 million different things you could build on top of.
True.
And so that was just my own. And I'd like to hear your guys's too, because I think that would be something we can all learn from.
Where we felt so the question's almost like where we felt like we didn't fit in, or maybe the fitting in didn't come as so comfortable as we thought it would.
Where were you insecure? Where were you made fun of? Where was your identity built upon that?
It's been a minute.
I know for me.
Yeah, shit, Jay. This shit kind of hard to slap us with this. I'm like, hold up, bro. I didn't think about this shit.
Sometimes I go to Strummers and I'm just like the most handsome person in the room.
Shut your ass up.
And like it's just really annoying.
Nah. Cut.
Psych. I feel like I was bullied and made fun of, and for being like skinny and my whole dang school career, dude. Like for real, I didn't really get out of that until maybe college-ish or whatever. But I used to get bullied for being like, just because I was like easy to pick on, you know what I mean? not like so much the whole race thing, but physically that was always something I struggled with. And yeah, man, I felt really it almost felt like life wasn't fair. It's just like, man, why am I like this? Like, but
And you identified with it?
oh yeah,
Yeah.
oh yeah. Only until I kind of forced myself to work out and tap into that pain. You know what I mean? I think we talked about that recently, or one of the chapters was using your pain and giving it like a face and going off of that. Got out of that for sure.
So what plan of action did you institute to attack that? You said working out.
To attack that first, I had to be comfortable with just like not even be comfortable. I think I just had to like face myself and like look in the mirror and like really like work out. Sometimes I go to the gym and I like stare at my skinny self in the mirror while I'm working out. I'm like, fuck you,
Okay.
Going off. And that was my plan of action. Yeah, or plan of action. And then going to the gym, sticking to a routine and going when I didn't feel like it.
There you go. Hell yeah. All right. You guys?
Could be something super brief. I don't know.
You got one, John?
I'll just go super quick. I don't know. Picking a career, post high school, where I'm from, it's a kind of an affluent area. 95% of kids go to college, just on principle, whether they're smart or like they want to. It just like it's the social norm. I didn't go. I decided to be a welder just because I thought it was interesting. And it made me feel insecure at some points because people love this like compare each other, and they're like, "Oh, you're not going to college, whatever." Like my own peers. Yeah. But then on the flip side, I wasn't like the typical welder guy. Like I'm not like a white redneck,
Yeah.
So I didn't necessarily fit in with the welder crowd either, But it all didn't fucking matter because I wasn't a normal welder guy. Like I was able to succeed in my career better,
True.
And because I picked a path that most of my peers didn't, I had to think a funner experience,
Yeah.
And it all worked out. So
that's a good one.
Nice.
I think in those, I felt insecure or uncomfortable, but ended up being okay.
Hell yeah, dude. That's dope.
I would say I identify with not being able to fit in with specific groups. Kind of like you can mix and mingle with all sorts of ethnicities, but some people will like, oh, you're not too this for that. Like you're not too black to hang out with us, or you're not too white. Like you're too black to hang out with the white people. You're too white to hang out with the black. And it's like, cool. Then I'll go find the people that are all mixed because I was so easily like skateboarding. I think really brought that out of me. Is like I had to make friends in skateboarding because like you go to the skate park by yourself, like you're damn near looked at like, bro, who is this kid? Like, especially when you go to do a trick and someone just did it and you go do it right after them. It's like there's like a sort of like a tension. Yeah. So it's always good to make friends and just talk to people. And I had to do that my whole life as a child, but I think I dealt with the same thing. Like, and I think as an adult, I've identified that, and it's like it doesn't bother me now. It's like I don't identify myself. So if you identify me, then that's your personal issue.
Isn't that what's great about like activities? That's like for guys, like an activity can bring uncommon people together, right?
Yeah.
Respect. They go, oh, I respect what you just did. I don't give a shit about anything else. But like, you can kickflip. Yeah. Like you can skate. Like you can weld. You can play football. Like people on football team, they can be mad racist, but like they have like this brotherly football bond, right? And like people overcome that stuff,
right?
Because they respect what they see and what they care about.
Yeah,
hell yeah,
definitely understand that.
That's a great point. And I think about people that their whole identity is their race, and it's like, bro, like you're fucking boring. You know what I mean? Like you got to be more than that, man. You got to be more than that. And so,
well, normally if their identity is their whole race, they're pretty insecure because like that's your identity, just like
wrapped up in that.
Right.
Wrapped up in that. That's pretty. Like you were just given that by chance,
right?
I think the society we're moving towards is more comforting for people that to like open up and be themselves.
Yeah,
because I think everything is more opening, but I think that at least children still deal with that like ethnicity or religion or
especially now like how hard it's pumped and stuff like that.
Yeah, not even people that's like their identity. People who like judge people because of their identity.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like those people. I'm like that's what the judgment
that's
comes
all you
from.
See.
Like they can't even control that shit,
Right.
Right.
Seriously. So I thank you guys for sharing those. I know a lot of people can relate to some of these things. John's was really interesting that he chose career. You chose physique. Race was one that we chose. It's a bunch of different things you can choose too. It's just really interesting. You can come at it from any different angle and let us know what you think. What were you insecure about? If you're willing to share that, how did you attack it? Are you the only in whatever you're doing? How are you dealing with that? Let us know how you're attacking that situation. We want to be inspired, just like everybody else. And so with that, I'm going to take us out. Thank you so much for watching. We always appreciate you guys tuning in. We know we're building. John's over there in Virginia. We're still making it happen. We miss him every day. So make sure you guys tune into the next episode. Subscribe to the channel. Like the video. Leave us some feedback down below in the comment section. And follow us on all our social media platforms. They'll be down in the description below. And never, ever forget the work you put in now.
Red is of little use to the man who has betrayed his soul.
Maybe you're the protagonist in your story, but like there's a million other people.